I was a software developer in Seattle, working 60-hour weeks to afford our dream house. That Thursday, I came home early with roses for our 8th anniversary, only to find my wife Amanda packing suitcases in our bedroom. Her eyes were cold when she said those devastating words. She was leaving me for her ex-boyfriend. 8 years of marriage suddenly meant nothing, as my entire world collapsed around me. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely, let me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe and like this video to join me on this painful journey of deception and unexpected redemption. Life with Amanda had seemed perfect until 6 months ago. We met in college, me studying computer science while she pursued fashion design. After graduation, I landed a job at a tech company in Seattle, and she found work at a boutique clothing store. We dated for 3 years before I proposed on a weekend trip to Mount Rainier. The wedding was small but beautiful, with close friends and family, celebrating our union. For years, we rented a small apartment while saving for our dream house. Seattle's real estate market was brutal, but after 5 years of marriage, we finally found a charming 3-bedroom craftsman in a neighborhood we loved. The mortgage payments were steep, so I took on additional projects and worked overtime to ensure we could afford it. Amanda decorated it beautifully, creating the perfect home I thought we would grow old in together. The first signs of trouble were subtle. About 6 months before everything fell apart, Amanda started becoming distant. She would stare at her phone for hours, quickly turning it away when I approached. Her normal cheerfulness faded into distraction and irritability. When I asked if everything was okay, she would smile tightly and say, "Just stressed about work." Her schedule changed too. Suddenly, she had evening meetings, weekend workshops, and overnight trips that had never been part of her job before. I supported her career advancement, but something felt off about these new commitments. "The boutique is considering me for management," she explained when I asked about her frequent absences. "I need to prove myself." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Then came the password changes. One evening, I needed a photo we had taken on her phone for a work presentation. When I asked for her phone, she hesitated before handing it over, watching nervously as I tried to unlock it. "Oh, I changed the password yesterday," she said, taking the phone back. Security concerns. Our physical intimacy dwindled until it was practically non-existent. When I would reach for her at night, she would turn away, claiming exhaustion or a headache. Conversations became surface-level, focused on household logistics rather than our dreams or feelings. I tried everything to reignite our relationship. I planned surprise date nights at her favorite restaurants. I bought thoughtful gifts that referenced our inside jokes and shared memories. I suggested weekend getaways to places she had always wanted to visit. Each attempt was met with lukewarm appreciation at best, outright annoyance at worst. The pit in my stomach grew larger with each passing week. Something was wrong, but I could not identify what. Was it depression, work stress, or was it me? Had I become boring or unattractive? Was I too focused on work and not attentive enough? Then came the evidence I could not ignore. While doing laundry, I found a receipt in her jacket pocket for a dinner at an expensive restaurant downtown on a night she claimed to be working late. $250 for a meal with a substantial wine charge. Another time, I discovered a hotel charge on our credit card statement for a date when she was supposedly at a work retreat, but had forgotten to mention which hotel. When I finally gathered the courage to ask if she was seeing someone else, her reaction was immediate and intense. "Are you seriously accusing me of cheating?" She snapped, eyes flashing with anger. "This is exactly why I have been pulling away. Your insecurity and paranoia are suffocating me." She stormed out, and I spent the night on the couch, convinced I was the problem. I apologized profusely the next day, promising to work on my trust issues. Family gatherings became uncomfortable, particularly around her sister Jessica. Jessica had always been politely distant with me, but in recent months, her attitude had shifted to barely concealed contempt. At a family dinner, I overheard her whispering to Amanda, "You deserve so much better. Just do it already." When they noticed me listening, Jessica gave me a cold smile, while Amanda looked away guiltily. Despite everything, I refused to give up on our marriage. Our 8th anniversary was approaching, and I saw it as an opportunity to reconnect. I requested a rare day off work, arranged for a special dinner reservation at the restaurant where we had our first date, and bought tickets to a show she had mentioned wanting to see. That morning, I left for work as usual, but planned to come home early with flowers and champagne. I was determined to save what we had built together, completely unaware that there was nothing left to save. I remember every detail of that afternoon. The unusually sunny Seattle day. The hopeful feeling in my chest as I selected a bouquet of her favorite lilies. The weight of the champagne bottle in my hand as I turned the key in our front door. The house was quiet when I entered, but something felt off. There were small changes I noticed immediately. The framed wedding photo that usually sat on our entryway table was gone. The throw blanket Amanda had knitted during our first year of marriage was missing from the couch. Amanda, I called out, setting down the flowers and champagne on the kitchen counter. I came home early. I thought we could start our anniversary celebration now. I heard movement upstairs and followed the sound to our bedroom. The door was partially open, and through the gap I could see Amanda moving quickly around the room. When I pushed the door fully open, the sight knocked the breath from my lungs. 2 large suitcases lay open on our bed, already filled with her clothing. Dresser drawers stood empty, and the closet door was open. Her side nearly cleared out. She was carefully wrapping jewelry in tissue paper when she noticed me. Her expression showed no surprise, no guilt, only mild annoyance at being interrupted. "You are home early," she said flatly. "What is happening?" I asked, though the answer was painfully obvious. "Are you going somewhere?" She straightened up, placing the jewelry in a small travel case, before closing it with a decisive snap. "I am leaving you, Gary," she said, her voice calm and matter-of-fact. "I have been trying to find the right time to tell you, but since you are here now, we might as well get it over with." The casual cruelty of her words left me speechless. 8 years of marriage dismissed as something to get over with. Leaving me, I finally managed to ask, "Where are you going? For how long? Is this about what I said last week? I told you I was sorry about the accusation." She sighed as if my questions were tiresome inconveniences. "I am moving in with Blake," she said, watching my face for a reaction. "Blake." The name sounded vaguely familiar. "Your ex from college. The one before we met." She nodded. "We reconnected a few months ago. It started as just coffee to catch up, but—" She shrugged as if what happened next was inevitable. "He never stopped loving me, Gary. And I realized I never stopped loving him either." Each word was a physical blow. My legs weakened, and I had to lean against the doorframe to remain standing. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, though I already knew the answer would align with when she began changing. 6 months, she admitted. "Though we have only been physical for the last 4 months. While I was working overtime to pay for our home, while I was planning dates and buying gifts, while I was apologizing for my paranoia, she had been sleeping with someone else." "Why didn't you just tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why all the lies, the fake work events, making me think I was crazy for suspecting something?" For the first time, a flash of something like guilt crossed her face, quickly replaced by defensiveness. "I tried to pull away gradually," she said. "I thought you would take the hint. But you just kept trying harder, making it impossible to leave cleanly." "Cleanly?" I repeated, anger, finally breaking through the shock. "There is nothing clean about betraying your husband for 6 months. Something in my tone sparked a matching anger in her. She abandoned the pretense of calm. "What did you expect me to do?" she snapped. "Stay in this boring life forever, working at that boutique while you bury yourself in code? Blake has his own real estate development company. He takes me to Paris and Tokyo, not camping trips to save money." Her words cut deep, targeting insecurities she knew well. "So this is about money?" I asked quietly. "It is about everything," she said, her voice hardening. "You are a pathetic failure, Gary. A drone who thinks 60-hour work weeks to afford a mediocre house in a decent neighborhood is success. Blake is the love of my life. He always was. I just settled for you because he wasn't ready to commit back then." She walked to our dresser and picked up a framed photo of us on our wedding day. With deliberate slowness, she tore it in half, letting the pieces fall to the floor. "I want a divorce," she stated, "and I want you to sell this house immediately." Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Amanda checked her watch and nodded. "That will be Jessica. She is helping me move the rest of my things." I followed her downstairs in a daze. When she opened the door, Jessica stood there with 2 men who were clearly hired to move furniture and boxes. Jessica looked past Amanda and saw me standing there devastated. Rather than showing compassion, she laughed. "Oh, you told him already. I thought we would need to help with that too," Amanda shrugged. "He came home early. It is probably better this way." Jessica walked past me with a smirk. She is too good for you, Gary. We all knew it. I told her that the first time she brought you to a family dinner. The next hour was a special kind of torture. I sat numbly on the couch, while Amanda, Jessica, and the movers emptied the house of everything she wanted. Family heirlooms we had received as wedding gifts. Artwork we had chosen together. Even the television I had bought with my first bonus. Just as they were finishing, Blake arrived in a sleek black Tesla. Tall, tanned, and dressed in clothing that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He looked like everything I was not. He barely acknowledged my presence as he helped load the final items. Before leaving, Amanda handed me a manila envelope. Divorce papers, she explained. My lawyer drew them up. Sign them, Gary, and call a real estate agent tomorrow. Blake knows a buyer who will take the house, as is no inspection needed. You can split the proceeds with me and be done with this whole chapter. Amanda, please, I said, hating the pleading in my voice. 8 years. We can go to counseling. We can work through this. Her expression showed nothing but contempt. There is nothing to work through. I have made my decision. Sign the papers. And then they were gone, leaving me in a half-empty house with torn photographs on the floor and divorce papers in my trembling hands. The following week was the darkest of my life. I called in sick to work, unable to focus or function. Friends tried to check on me, but I ignored their calls and texts. I could not eat or sleep. The shame of explaining what happened paralyzed me. How could I tell people that my wife had been cheating for months, and I had been too blind to see it clearly? That she left me for being boring and unsuccessful. The house I had worked so hard to afford now felt like a mausoleum filled with ghosts of a life that had been a lie. Part of me wanted to give Amanda what she wanted. Sell it, split the money, and disappear. But another part, a part I barely recognized, whispered that something about this rushed sale felt wrong. 3 days after Amanda left, I finally gathered the strength to call Thomas Wilson, a lawyer my friend had recommended. His office was in a modest building downtown, nothing flashy but professional and welcoming. Thomas was a man in his 50s with kind eyes that had seen every variety of marital disaster. He reviewed the divorce papers Amanda had left, with growing concern. These terms are extremely unfavorable to you, he said, setting down the papers. She is asking for 50% of all assets despite bringing in significantly less income, and there is unusual language about expediting the sale of your primary residence. She said her boyfriend knows someone who wants to buy the house immediately, I explained. No inspection needed. Thomas leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. That raised several red flags. Let me ask you something, Gary. What does her boyfriend do for a living? He owns a real estate development company. Blake Properties, I think. Thomas nodded slowly. I suspected as much. And did you notice if there was a company name mentioned for this potential buyer? I thought back to the conversation. Amanda mentioned something about Evergreen Holdings being interested. Thomas opened his laptop and typed something in. He turned the screen toward me a moment later. Evergreen Holdings is a subsidiary of Blake Properties, he said. Your wife's boyfriend wants to buy your house through his company, likely well below market value. The revelation sent a chill through me. Why would he do that? Let me look into this Blake person more thoroughly, before we jump to conclusions, Thomas said. In the meantime, do not sign those papers, and do not agree to any house sale. That afternoon I discovered something else troubling. When I checked our joint bank accounts, I found them nearly empty. Amanda had withdrawn almost all our savings the day before she left over $70,000 we had been saving for years. Thomas filed emergency motions to freeze remaining assets and contested the withdrawal. He also began researching Blake Harrington and his business practices. What he discovered was disturbing. Blake owned several development companies that specialized in buying properties in up-and-coming Seattle neighborhoods, tearing them down and building luxury condos or commercial spaces. There were numerous complaints filed against his companies for aggressive tactics, building code violations, and broken promises to homeowners. Most concerning were the patterns Thomas found in Blake's personal life. This wasn't the first time he had become involved with a married woman who owned property in a desirable location. There were at least 2 previous instances where Blake had dated married women, convinced them to leave their husbands, and then purchase their homes at below-market prices through his companies. I believe your wife may have been targeted, Thomas told me, during our next meeting. These neighborhoods where Blake is buying properties are part of a major redevelopment plan. Your block in particular has been mentioned in city council meetings as a potential site for luxury condominiums. The realization that my marriage might have been deliberately sabotaged for a real estate deal was almost too much to process. Had Amanda been manipulated, or was she a willing participant in the scheme? Either way, I felt sick. Thomas advised me to sign the divorce papers as contesting. The divorce itself was pointless, but to absolutely refuse any rushed sale of the house. We would demand a proper market valuation and open bidding process, if selling became necessary. The next 2 months were a battle. Amanda's lawyer sent increasingly threatening letters, demanding I move forward with the house sale. Jessica left nasty voicemails accusing me of being vindictive and petty. Amanda herself texted daily, alternating between guilt trips and angry demands. Blake's investors are waiting on this deal, one text read. Stop being difficult just because you're bitter about our relationship. I held firm, guided by Thomas's advice, and my growing anger at being manipulated. I researched Blake's other projects and found a pattern of pushing out longtime residents to build luxury developments that changed the character of historic neighborhoods. Then came the email that changed everything. It arrived from an anonymous address with the subject line, Blake Harrington is not who he seems. The sender identified himself as Blake's former business partner, warning me that Blake was under investigation for fraud and predatory business practices. He provided links to court documents and news articles that had not yet made major headlines. He has done this before, the email concluded. He finds properties he wants, identifies vulnerable owners, and does whatever it takes to get them to sell cheaply. Your wife is not his first conquest tied to business. I forwarded the email to Thomas, who confirmed the information through his legal contacts. The investigation into Blake was real and gaining momentum. I was processing this information when my email inbox suddenly exploded with notifications. 19 new messages from Amanda sent over the course of 3 hours with increasingly desperate subject lines. The first simply read, "Please help me, Gary." The last, "I have nowhere else to go." With shaking hands, I opened the first email. "Gary, I've made a terrible mistake," it began. "Everything is falling apart. Blake is not who I thought he was. Please call me. I need your help." The subsequent emails painted a picture of a relationship and business deal unraveling simultaneously. Blake had apparently become volatile when the house purchase fell through. His investors were pulling out of other projects as rumors of the investigation spread. Amanda wrote that she had discovered other women's similar property deals and mounting debt hidden beneath Blake's veneer of success. The final email was the most desperate. "He threw me out. Jessica won't take me in because she lost money investing with him too. I have nowhere to go. Please, Gary. I know I don't deserve your help, but I have no one else." I agreed to meet Amanda at a coffee shop downtown, a public place where I felt safe having this conversation. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. The confident, stylish woman who had left me was gone, replaced by someone with unwashed hair, dark circles under red-rimmed eyes, and wrinkled clothing that looked slept in. She slid into the chair across from me, hands wrapped around the coffee I had ordered for her. "Old habits. Thank you for coming," she said, her voice small and rough. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak yet. The mixture of emotions was overwhelming. Vindication that I had been right about something being wrong, anger at her betrayal, and despite everything, a pull of concern for the woman I had loved for so long. "I don't know where to start," she said after a long silence. "The truth would be nice," I replied, keeping my voice even. For once. She flinched, but nodded. "I deserve that." She took a deep breath. "Blake approached me at the boutique 6 months ago. He came in looking for a gift for his sister, or so he said. He was charming, confident, everything that seems impressive at first. He asked me to coffee just as old friends reconnecting." She stared into her cup. "I should have told you, but it felt good to be pursued so intensely. He made me feel special, desirable. He asked about my life, and I mentioned our house, the neighborhood. That's when everything changed, though I didn't see it then." She explained how Blake's interest intensified after learning where we lived. The gifts became more lavish, the promises more elaborate. Weekend trips turned into discussions of living together, of the lifestyle they could have. He kept talking about how our house was in a transitional neighborhood and how I deserved better, how you were holding me back from the life I deserved. Her voice broke, and I believed him. I let him convince me that our marriage was the problem, that you were the problem. I'm so ashamed now." She described how everything changed after she left me. Blake was initially attentive, but as soon as the divorce papers were filed, his focus shifted entirely to the house sale. When you wouldn't sell quickly, he became a different person. Cold calculating. He started taking calls in private, and I found paperwork showing what he planned for the whole block. Tearing down everyone's homes for a luxury condo development. The final straw came when she discovered he was simultaneously dating two other women, both married homeowners in neighborhoods Blake was targeting for development. I confronted him, and he didn't even deny it. He laughed and said business was business. When I threatened to tell you everything, She paused, pulling up her sleeve to reveal a large bruise on her arm. He showed me who he really is. She had fled with just her purse and the clothes she was wearing. Jessica, who had invested considerably in Blake's projects after he began dating Amanda, refused to help her. Friends had sided with Blake, believing Amanda had left me for legitimate reasons. She had spent 2 nights in her car before emailing me. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, tears flowing freely now. "I don't expect anything, but I thought you should know the truth, and selfishly, I didn't know who else to turn to." I sat in silence, processing everything. Part of me wanted to walk away to let her face the consequences of her choices. But another part remembered the woman I had married before. Greed and manipulation had warped her perspective. "I'll help you," I finally said. "Not for us, but because it's the right thing to do." The relief on her face was palpable. "Thank you, Gary. But let me be clear," I continued. "I'll help you legally, and with temporary housing in our guest room until you find a place. I'll help you recover whatever assets you can from Blake. But our marriage is over. That trust is broken beyond repair." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I understand. I wouldn't expect anything else." Over the next several weeks, we worked with Thomas to build a case against Blake. Amanda provided text messages, emails, and recordings of conversations that revealed his predatory tactics. We found other victims willing to come forward, women who had been similarly manipulated in properties that had been acquired through deceptive practices. The case against Blake built steadily until authorities had enough evidence to arrest him on multiple fraud charges. The day I watched him being led away in handcuffs on the local news brought a sense of justice, though not closure. Amanda stayed in our guest room for a month while she found a small apartment and a new job. She tried several times to suggest reconciliation, leaving notes about our good memories or cooking my favorite meals. I remained firm in my decision. The divorce proceeded, though I agreed to more generous terms than her initial filing had proposed. I kept the house and helped her with a deposit on her apartment. It wasn't kindness so much as a desire to close this chapter cleanly and with my own integrity intact. The healing process was slow and painful. I started therapy to process the betrayal and rebuild my self-worth. Friends who had given me space during the worst of it returned to offer support and companionship. I focused on my career, earning a promotion that affirmed my professional value despite Amanda's cruel assessment. Most importantly, I reclaimed our house as my own. I repainted, rearranged furniture, and created new memories to replace the painful ones. The home that had once been a symbol of our shared dreams became a testament to my resilience. 6 months after Amanda moved out, I ran into Jessica at a local grocery store. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me hovering near the produce section, as if deciding whether to flee or acknowledge me. "Gary," she finally said, approaching hesitantly. "How are you?" "I'm doing well," I replied honestly. "And you?" She looked down. "Not great. I lost most of my savings in Blake's schemes." An awkward silence stretched between us before she spoke again. "I owe you an apology. The things I said, the way I treated you. I was wrong. You were." I agreed. "Amanda was lucky to have you," she said quietly. "We all saw it except her. And me, I guess. I was jealous of your relationship, so when it started falling apart, I encouraged it instead of helping fix it. I'm sorry." I expected to feel anger or satisfaction at her admission. Instead, I felt something like pity. "I hope things get better for you, Jessica," I said, meaning it. Walking away, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal still hurt, but it no longer defined me. I had survived the collapse of my marriage and emerged stronger, wiser, and more aware of my own worth. The experience taught me that sometimes people's worst actions reveal our own best qualities. Amanda's betrayal showed me my capacity for compassion. Blake's manipulation highlighted my integrity. Their combined deception unveiled my resilience. I still believe in love and trust, though I approach both more carefully now. The pain was necessary for me to grow into the man I am today, someone who values himself enough to expect honesty and respect from others. Have you ever experienced betrayal that ultimately set you free from a situation that was wrong for you? Share your story in the comments below. If my journey helped you feel less alone in your struggles, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that surviving betrayal is possible. Thank you for walking through this painful chapter with me, the one that paradoxically led me to my strongest, most authentic self.